Okay, thank you so much, Rita. I see that the music has ended. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, my name is Olajumoke Awonoye, and then thank you so much, Rita, for having me jump on this. And good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is, your time. Thank you so much for joining in. Welcome once again to the Velocity Room, where we have critical conversations that help us grow together as a community. I'm so excited to be here to be hosting this session today. And the goal is very simple, that we can have conversations around how you can scale growth operations in your startup. We all know that building a startup, especially in Nigeria, can be very, very demanding. And as you scale, it becomes really tedious. In fact, it gets more demanding. And today we have said, let's bring in professionals into one room to share real-time experience and also tell you they've been there before, they've been able to scale through it, and they are going to be sharing those experiences in the room tonight. Why are we even here? Who are we at Velocity? Yes, Velocity is a community of ambitious, talented individuals. Should I say professionals, entrepreneurs who are looking to rise fast, and we don't want to rise alone. We are coming together as a community to say, you know what, let's rise together, let's move together. And we have over 600 community members. And I can tell you for a fact, it's not a mistake that you're here, because we are going to rise together. We like to refer to ourselves as the hub of fast rising stars. And trust me, we are the stars, because this is your opportunity to build life with people that you can easily reach out to. The end goal is simple, that when issues arise, when you need advice, when you need opportunities, or you're trying to reach someone in a network and it seems like they're unreachable, that you can easily come into the community as a family, say, hi guys, I'm trying to reach someone at XYZ organization. Do you know anyone there? And like 4 or 5 people, not even a time now, 4 or 5 people are reaching out to you to say, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to do an introduction. I'm happy to share my knowledge. That's the goal for us at Velocity. And what are we doing on this call today? We are looking to have conversation, real conversations around scaling growth operations. The session is focused on the realities of actually scaling operation, especially when you're a fast-growing startup. We'll hear founders, people that have actually built businesses. These are people with years of experience. For example, Mr. Joshua is with over 18 years experience doing this back to back. And we have him and one other person, which is Adeola, to share their story, how they got here, what they have been able to do in the operation space, how they've been able to scale through challenges, and how you can learn to grow your team, to grow your startup. If you're on this call, you don't own a startup, you are still in the right place. This is also your opportunity to learn in case you are looking to build your own startup in the future. Once again, my name is Olajumoke Awonoye, and I will be your host for today. Just before I move on, it's very simple. We'll be moving into a panel where I'll be having conversations and questions with Joshua and Adeola. So I would like to first confirm, Etaya, please, our guest on the call. I see Obafemi already.
Yes.
Adeola, are you on the call?
Yes, Obafemi is on the call. I've made him a co-host already.
I'm here, please.
Adeola is as well.
Thank you so much. Adeola is on the call, so please make her co-host. I just wanted to be sure my guests are here before we then take this right further. But before we move on, real quick, it's not nice that I'll just be doing the talking and then the guests will be talking. It would be nice to also hear who and who we have on the call. So rather than making it rowdy, quickly in the chat, I want to know your name and what you do. It's very simple. It's just a little way of also getting to know one another. Yes, we are here to listen to information around building operation system in your organization, but it's nice to also know the kind of people we have on the call. You could also make 1 or 2 friends in the chat. So please, your name, what you do, maybe your company, you could also mention that, but majorly your name and what you do. Quickly in the chat, I want to hear who you are and what you do. I see a lot of people on the call, so I want to see your chat as well to be sure I'm not just talking to myself and you're right here with me on the call. So please, quickly drop a chat in the chat box, your name, what you do. No one wants to introduce themselves. Then we'll not start this session. Thank you, Itayo. Itayo has dropped the format. Thank you, Tosi, founder at Avenue 7. Thank you so much. Every other person on the call, 1 more minute. I want to see your introduction before we go right straight into the business of today. Thank you, Stephen. I see you. Thank you, Ife. Thank you so much for joining us today and doing this with us. I mean, in the business of the day, we'll be having a short panel where we'll be having conversations around growing operations, especially as a startup. My first guest tonight is Obafemi Joshua Darabidan. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. He's a seasoned banker and executive finance leader with over 18 years of transformative experience in scaling operations, driving growth initiatives across financial services sector, especially in microfinance, consumer retail, commercial, corporate banking. He's a veteran in this business, so you are learning from the best. Currently, he's the CEO at Clan Africa Innovations Limited and is the group COO at Coral Stone Capital Limited. He's been in the forefront of digital transformation and operations scaling, and he has been a driver of overall credit risk framework. Trust me, today you are learning from the best. And just to cap it all, is leading up to 15% increase in customer acquisition rate. So far, so good. Trust me, this is not easy for one man. And we have brought this man into the room to say, you know what, please come and share what you have learned on operations in the past 18 years. I won't be doing this alone with him. I would also be having Adiola Olaniyo, who is the CEO and operations strategy with about 20 years work experience across different industry. She has worked in and learned, she has also led operations across companies like MTN, Jumia, Resource Energy, Sabi, Patricia, Corapay. I'm sure you know most of these businesses that I've mentioned. So you are literally going to be learning from wealth of experience, years of hard work, years of trials and error. Also, she has scaled startups from very messy situations to actually maturing these startups. She has stabilized businesses that had once been in chaos, and she has helped leadership teams build strong operational system. Currently, she's at Optimization Lab. She's helping founders actually fix loopholes around their time, money, energy, bad operations, and with a very amazing applause. You can use the applause emoji. Let's welcome my guests. Let's welcome Obafemi and Adiola. Hi, Obafemi. Hi, Adiola. How are you doing today? I know it's a lot of bio. Catch your breath and tell me, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us.
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And okay, thanks for having me. Thanks, Velocitas. Thanks, Itayo, and thanks to the crew. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Adiola.
I'm very well too. Thank you for having me, and I'm really excited to share all about operations. Well, not all, but like share about operations.
I mean, we can't wait to draw and draw and draw from you tonight. I mean, before we go into the business of the day, I really want to know 18 years, 20 years, it's a long journey. In a short summary, tell us, how did you even get here? Just a little summary as to how you got here. So I'll start with you, Adiola, before we go to about it.
Honestly speaking, I don't know. That's what I would say. I don't know. I started off at MTN, and I started as a cost is I think I can't remember the title then, but I think is it customer service representative? I think so, yes. And I was fresh out of what's it called? Of NYSC, and I just knew that whatever I was doing, I wanted to give it my best. And I think that for me has always been my driving force. Wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I always want to give it my best. And that was where I started from. And well, I'm here. But along the line, my love for startups came when I joined Jumia. I joined Jumia when Jumia was less than a year old. So I can say that I'm a founding member of Jumia. And right now, Jumia is everywhere. So Jumia for me was what introduced me into the startup world, and my love for startups like was ignited there. So let's just say I was there giving my best, and I'm here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adela. That was quite detailed in short sentences. Over to you, Obafemi.
Okay. How did I get here? I don't even know. Okay, so my background is real estate. I studied estate management in school, and one of my best courses was modeling. That's when you go for architectural drawings, then you're asked to model a building, and then you present it. So I caught that early. I loved building construction, and that's kind of like re-engineered my brain. So when I see something that is to be built, my mindset is always quickly going into the details. What are the requirements? What do we need to put together to achieve this? If I'm to build a two-story building, what should the foundation look like? So I think I got into banking, right? Because I didn't want to go into real estate, and I got into banking. So also being exposed to finance and also how credit system works also drove me to the point of trying to understand the financial engineering, around credit framework to, how loans are created and all of that. Then fast forward, I left commercial banking in 2013. I decided to venture into the startup ecosystem, basically just to help people build businesses. And because I also have that thing on my mind about how to build. So how do we build, right? So that's what has kept me busy in the last 10 years. So I joined the startup ecosystem in 2014, started with an MFI. It's now defunct, but I spent 2 years there. And then I proceeded to a microfinance bank. And then from there, I moved to another finance company as the group COO. Then here I am today. I'm also group COO at a fintech, which is like completely, not so completely, but it's different from banking. So I've now learned the lingo around technology and how you fuse the two together. So that's where I am at the moment. So that's how I got here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that journey with us. And it just helps us channel this into the conversation we are having today. I like the fact that both speakers experientially can tell the pain that comes with building and actually scaling. Building has its own pain, but when it gets to scaling, the pain becomes even much more intense. So I would like you to share with us, in the course of your building, scaling startups so far, what are some of the unexpected challenges that you have faced, and how were you able to tackle them? So you go first, Obafemi.
Okay, scaling. So I'll always say this, that we cannot scale chaos. You can't scale disorganization. Scaling comes with some level of organization. At startup, innovation ideas are flying, and a lot of things are not defined. It's like amoeba. There's no defined, but that is good for when you are starting out, because at that level, you have clean fires every day. You have fire cracking every day. But at the point where you now want to take that operation to a higher level, it now demands some level of structure, which is where you still find a lot of founders still caught up in that mindset of this is what we were doing 2 years ago. And also thinking that putting structures in place will inhibit innovation. Actually, putting structures in place helps you to scale innovation. So those are part of the challenges that I have seen experientially, because there are no structures. So it now calls for a sit down to properly document processes, policies that can make what you're doing sustainable. So, when you started something over time and you now come midway to now start documenting things that have evolved over 2 years, you know how many iterations you can do, especially in a tech space. You can do 4 iterations in 2 months. So now to document those processes is an Herculean task, because even as you are documenting, things are changing. Right. So those are one of the challenges, trying to, catch up in a fast-paced environment, especially in finance. Things are evolving every day. So another thing is, another challenge that I also experienced in that space is also the issue of talent gaps. Right. There are a lot of people who say, oh, there are no jobs. But in the truth of the matter is, when you are scaling, you need a different type of employees at a scaling level. What most of us do is that, because these are founding members of the company, you want to keep them, which there's nothing wrong in it. But at the point where the business is scaling, because the organization is an organism, scaling does not just come with just products alone. That, oh, we are releasing new products, version 2, version 3, we want to reach more markets. The question should be, do we have the human capital, the human resources to support that scaling? Because most times, the mindset of the people you are trying to scale with, their mindset is still 2 years ago. They've not evolved mentally, which is why it looks like a lot of people are working in organizations in a fast-paced environment, but they don't feel a sense of belonging. So there's a talent gap that comes with scaling, not because they want to be underperforming or they don't want to be relevant, but the system moves faster than people are moving. So there has to be an intentionality that this thing that we want to do in the next 4 months, what kind of people do we need? Therefore, do you need to train them? Do you need to expose them to what needs to be exposed to, so that they can be at the same mindset level with that level of scale that the company is aiming for? And if you cannot find those kind of people who are able to quickly adapt, then you might need to source for talents outside of the organization to come and drive that scale. But that poses another challenge, because now your culture is threatened. But I think we'll come there when we get to
Yes, definitely. I like the way this conversation is going. But over to you, Adiola. We'll come back to it.
Okay, so I'm just going to add, right, to what he has said. Scaling fast sounds really exciting, right? As for me, it sounds very exciting. But like you said, it comes with unexpected growing pains, and especially on the operation side. And I'll give an example. In one startup I worked with, we had a great product, like it was, and this is usually what I see as a norm. There's usually a great product, and then because of the great product, user demand was rising really fast. Like it was rising really, really fast because the product was good, but internally it was just chaotic. And things like tasks were being duplicated, people were not clear on their roles, team members were burning out, there was no clear, people were not plugged into the vision and all that. In that instance, we had to use something, we had to pause. Fine, it was a very difficult endeavor trying to convince the founder to pause, but we had to pause for 2 weeks, right? And we paused for 2 weeks to put structure in place. And one of the things we used is something called the RACI model. It's spelled RACI. R stands for responsible. So who is responsible for, like, who does this work? Who is the person that is responsible for this work? A means accountable. Who is the person that owns the outcome or owns the decisions, and then C is consulted. The people who we who give input or who give their expertise, who are the people that impute into what we're trying to do. And then I is informed, which are the people that we need to carry along. They are not directly or actively involved, but we need to inform them, we need to carry them along. So we use this racing model to clarify responsibilities and then mapped out workflows so that everybody knew what to do, because the confusion was just too much. And everybody knew who to, at the end of it all, everyone knew who to go to for what. And that small pause, it was a small pause, if you ask me. It saved us about 6 months of future confusion. And then another time again, I supported a company that was scaling fast also, but they were still running everything on spreadsheets. Like they were still using Google Sheets and all that. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I always say that your processes should grow with the business, right? So you start from where, what do you have in your hands, basically? So start from where you are, start from what you have in your hands, right? But it was a good product too, and the business was scaling fast. And it was working at first, the spreadsheets were working at first, but volume had to pick up, and then things started slipping. So we had to review their daily operations. Fine, we didn't pause this time around for 2 weeks, but we had to review their daily operations and then introduce things like simple, low-cost automation tools, like just that. And then suddenly the team had real visibility, and then there was speed without overcomplicating things. This brings to mind a fast food brand called Chick-fil-A in North America. Like Chick-fil-A, they are not the biggest fast food brand, but they've built one of the strongest reputations. And why? How did they do this? And why do they have like one of the strongest reputations? Because their operations are tight. From how they hire to how they serve their customers, everything is consistent and repeatable. And that's basically what separates real growth from just hustling and hustling and hustling. So that's what I would add.
Thank you so much, Adela. That was quite detailed. So if I hear the both of you correctly, talent gap was a big challenge, and thank you for driving down how to actually take out the emotions and check if the guys you have internally can deliver, or you need to find other guys to join the team. I also hear you say a lot about structure, and also you cannot build in chaos, especially for people who are scaling, like you mentioned. It's also okay to take a break, check the pulse of the business, confirm, okay, this is where we are at, this is the challenges we are facing, what can we quickly put in place? So it's okay to take those little breaks at different intervals as you scale through. Thank you so much. I like the fact that we said something around talent gap, which then brings me to my next question. We all understand that hiring and retaining the right talent can make or break the business. Now that we know this, how do we then identify and nurture leaders within the team that we currently have to sustain growth? Like, if we don't just want to keep adding more people to the talent that we have internally, how can we spotlight the guys with leadership skill currently that we have, and how we can then bring them up to speed to fit into the scaling position we have currently? I'll let you go first, Adela.
Okay. So for me, right, I always like to clarify something in terms of growing, like in terms of hyper growth, scaling fast, and all that. I always like to clarify what I mean exactly by that. For me, it is when demand from your users is outpacing what the business can supply. It is not when internal inefficiencies are making us feel like we need to hire like 20 people to fix what probably a five-person system can solve. That's not growth for me. That's just reaction, and it's basically poor operations. Operations is proactive, it is not reactive. But I'll just pause on that and I'll answer the question. I actually wanted to clarify that when it comes to scaling, right? So when it comes to hiring and nurturing talent, I focus more on resourcefulness and intrapreneurship than resumes for me. This is what I do. I want people who get the vision. I want people who believe in the vision. I want people who are ready to run with it. Otherwise, you are just pouring into an empty basket. That's what I think it is. So in one company or in one business that I supported, we did not have the luxury of formal assessment. There's this thing that, you have to have all these 20 level or many staged assessments and all. So I used, because in startup world, you are as you are going, like you have to be fast, you have to be agile. So everybody needs to be fast. So I use what I call stretch projects. I would hand over like maybe a complicated or an undefined task, something that is messy, and then I'll watch how someone handled it. So how you took ownership, for instance, how you brought clarity, how you pulled others in. That's basically for me how leaders reveal themselves. So let me give an example. I once asked someone to map a new client onboarding process from scratch. I didn't give any instructions. I just gave goals. I didn't give any instructions. I didn't give any pointers or anything. I just gave goals. And how they responded to it told me more than any CV could, right? And then for others, I also pair potential leaders with mentors, right? When I identify that you're a potential leader, I pair you with mentors, and it's not just for skill building, but to normalize reflection and learning as a part of the culture. Because for me, when you are interacting with a leader, for instance, before you know it, very soon their ways get rubbed off on you, right? Because you're interacting closely with the person. So you are also developing a culture that way. You are developing the culture that way. So I do this pairing. And then I've also seen one thing over time, like time and time again, that even someone with average skills will often rise. That's just the truth. When you give them clarity, autonomy, and trust. But even the most talented person will shrink in a chaotic and unclear environment. So clarity is very, very important. That's why strong operations matter, and it gives the people an environment to grow.
Thank you so much. That was very, very detailed and straight to the point. Over to you, my friend.
Okay, I'll say it in a different way, but I guess we'll just be saying the same thing. The way I have learned over time is to commit task. So like what Diola said about undefined, you just set the goal. I want this done. And you wait for how people will react to it, right? How they will handle it, how much of discretion they are going to apply, and what is the quality of the output that I get. So I usually don't believe that there is nobody that is not trainable. I give everybody a level playing field, and I commit task. And okay, so maybe this is a bad habit, but when I give people task, right, be rest assured that I'm performing that task on my system. Like I'm benchmarking you. So if I set a task for you, and I know that it will take you 2 days, I will also start on my desk. I know it's not your probably regular JD, but I'm just trying to test how much you can stretch to solve a problem. So I'm always looking for problem solvers and how fast they can solve it. So I do that. I can commit it into 5 people, and I'm also trying to do the same thing. So by the second day, I'm like, guys, Alpha, of course, you hear different things. Somebody will say, oh, my laptop, oh, I didn't have battery, oh, this, that, we were working remotely, internet was bad, But some people will be like, yes, I went to a cafe, I got it done, this is my report, this, that. And you see the level of research that they have, committed their time and energy to pulling up in order to support what you have asked them to do. So that is how I look for leaders. And because beyond the skill, you need to look for the heart.
Right.
The heart is the real deal. If you have the skill and you don't have the heart, like Diola said, in a chaotic situation like we have in the startup environment, where a lot of things are uncertain, people will cower and then they become unreliable. Even though they are skilled, they have excellent grades, they can speak English, but what we need is the boldness to look at a problem and say, boss, don't worry, we'll get this thing sorted out. And that ties into how I learned early in my banking career, right? We were a group of like 6 guys. We're all executive trainees in my giant bank. But we used to tell our bosses to go home. We'll tell them, by tomorrow morning, you'll have this report on your table. We can stay in the office like 8 p.m. We can come on weekends. Because it was head office, security will open doors for us. We'll come, we'll do stuff. By Monday morning, our bosses get their reports on their desk. So that is how I learned. And I believe if you want to test, that quality in other people, give them tasks and see how much of the heart for the job they have. If they have the heart, skills, you can acquire skills now. You can train people to become skilled. But the heart is what you have to test first in order to get quality, employees or talents that can now start doing everything possible to retain them. If I have a good heart, I'll do everything possible to retain the person. If it means increasing salaries, if it means, having some bonuses, but because the person has the heart, and I know that this person is the kind of person we want to retain, then I think that's a better approach to it.
I mean, this conversation keeps getting quite interesting because I hear Diola say operations is more proactive than reactive. So it's not like we are panicking and then people are not getting the job done, they are slacking, and then we keep adding more employees. So it's more around, let it be customer-centric problem, excess demand ahead, we can then bring in new people. And if I also hear you correctly, when in a stage of scaling, you will rather focus on how people commit to the job rather than the skills they bring to the table. That way you can ride on their commitment, build their skills, because at least they have what it takes to stay committed to the dream you are chasing at, while you also build their skills and ability to catch up. That's quite very, very interesting. On that same conversation around operational values and metrics, I would like to ask, when you're scaling rapidly, what are some of the key metrics that you should prioritize, especially when you want to scale sustainably and efficiently? What are some of the key operational metrics and signals that you need to prioritize? Any of you can go first. That's fine.
Okay, so maybe I work in an industry that is a bit regulated. So the regulator has even defined some of those KPIs for us. So in the finance space, you are looking out for how bad is my loan book? What's my non-performing loan ratio? It's a KPI that helps me to judge the quality of customers we are onboarding. Are they people that will take loans? After 2 payments, they stop paying. Then I have a non-performing loan book running into millions of naira, right? If I use that KPI to judge, then I can begin to walk backwards and say, what is the segment of these people that are defaulting? What's their age bracket? What is the kind of business they do? What did they use the money for? So it needs to help us walk back to know the quality of our customer acquisition strategy or focus, right? Because that's very key. In operations, everything is about customer experience and satisfaction, right? So you can be satisfying the wrong customer. So I want to be sure. Then my costs, my acquisition cost for that customer is also another KPI I want to check. Like Diola had mentioned earlier, you can't throw money at everything. The same way you can't throw more personnel at a problem. If they keep recruiting or acquiring the wrong customers that we are expending our resources on, it will not translate to profits or even the scale that we think we are doing. The customer has to be right, right? So part of those things are for us to check the cost of acquiring those customers, then the quality of those customers per time based on their performance. So again, because I'm in the finance space, I may not know how to relate that to the manufacturing or to other ecosystems, but within my own ecosystem, yeah, we could check up on those kind of things. How is your customer service? What's the response rate to customer inquiries or customer escalations? So those are also things that, and I think the way we can put in measures to stem those challenges will also be that you have documented KPIs that is known to every member of the team from top down. And it's something that has to be hammered like every week so that everybody has it top of mind that if a phone rings more than twice, you have just failed at the KPI. If you spend more than 30 seconds trying to resolve a particular kind of issue, you have just failed at the KPI. So there has to be metrics introduced at every level or for every task in order for you, because you can't measure, you can't assume you are growing or scaling if you cannot measure. Measurement, there's a particular book, I've forgotten the author now, but it says measure what matters. I think it's a book everybody should go and look for. Measure what matters. So you need to look for what matters to your business and create metrics around it. Everything is measurable. It might not be in, it might not be in numbers like Naira and Kobo. It can be time. It can be how much of effort you are expending, right? So you need to define the metrics that helps you to say, I have succeeded or I have failed. So yeah, John Doe, somebody just posted it. Measure what matters. Go and read that book. Very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, if I hear you clearly, it's not enough to get it done. It has to be timely. Over to you, Adiola.
Okay, so for me, I consult now for I consult for businesses, especially startups, right? So I have a 10-pillar operational framework that I developed. And this is from years and years in operations across different industries, renewable energy, e-commerce, telecommunications, fintech, and so on and so forth, right? So I was just basically trying to track the code, like what really drives sustainable and efficient efficient scale, right? And I came up with a 10-pillar framework. And what I've learned is this, right? Scaling well is not just about growing revenue, right? Or building a product. A lot of founders focus on maybe only these two, or they ignore, while growing, they ignore others, right? In this, my 10 operational framework, or they react too late to the others. Just like Obafemi has said, if you are building in a fintech industry in Nigeria, compliance and risk should be at the top of your priority list, right? You are in a regulated space. Regulators are watching. That also means your lifestyle as a founder might need to shift. And I see a lot of founders that, I don't know, maybe they are not in touch with reality, but this is one of the prices that you have to pay in order to build what you're building. I call your startups or businesses your babies. They're your babies. So if you're a mother to a baby, or rather you have a baby, would you abandon your baby, right? Or maybe you just gave birth to a baby today. You abandon your baby and go out, go to the club and all that. You won't do that. You will do what it takes to be responsible and take care of that baby. So your lifestyle as a founder might need to shift. If you are a publicly flashy or extravagant person and you will attract the attention you don't want. And those are just some of the prices that you have to pay to build something that lasts. If you've listened to me, you would have seen that I've given you 2 out of the 10, or no, I've given you 3 out of the 10 operational pillars. You have to pay me for the remaining 7. Anyways, beyond the framework, though, beyond my 10 operational pillars framework, I also try, like on a high level, I also track these signals consistently in any business that I support. Throughput, right? How fast are things moving? We're in the startup world, things are moving fast. Like AI is here, everything is just moving so fast. Technology is taking over, right? You also have to be fast too. So how fast are things moving? Number 2 is quality. I am all about quality. In fact, one of my personal and professional values is quality. Is what you are what you if you have to do something, you do it well or you don't do it at all. That's how I operate. So for the second one is quality. How consistent and reliable are those things, right? The things that you're measuring, the things that the metrics that you're putting, you are using the metrics to measure quality, which is how consistent and reliable the things are. And then the last one is load. The stress levels on people, on your tools, on your processes, on your systems. If one of these things starts lagging, say for instance, your delivery speed improves, but your complaints go up, you are no longer in balance. So you always have to be in a balance. Your eyes always have to be on these 10 things, and your eyes always have to be on these 3 things that are just a high level summary of these 10 things. So let me give an example, because I like to give examples. In a startup that I I supported, we had to set up weekly operational pulse meetings, right? This is not your regular stand-up. We had quick check-ins across departments, like every department in the business. We need to catch pressure points. Like operations is proactive. For me, it's proactive. We need to catch these pressure points before they became full-blown crises. And that small thing of just having short operational pulse meetings, it made a huge difference. I'll also give another example too, like Amazon. Look at Amazon. Amazon doesn't just track sales, right? They track warehouse pick times, like warehouse pickup times, delivery accuracy, even how long it takes to respond to a customer, to a customer's chat. That's basically what operational excellence looks like in action. So it's a balanced view of everything. You always have to have your eyes on the prize. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adiola. So it's just not the numbers, the funds that come into the business. It's the timely pulse check on every aspect of things to ensure that operations is always balanced. Thank you so much. That's quite insightful. If you're on the call, please, I hope you are noting down quite a couple of these very important factors and value that is being dished out. Also, if you're on the call, I want you to start thinking about your questions, because I would get to that point where I would open the floor to also give a few people rooms to ask questions. Thank you so much, Adiola and Obafemi, for doing this with me. On to my next question. I mean, as CEOs, how do you balance maintaining startup culture and agility while putting in place necessary structures for rapid growth? We all know that culture is a very big deal when it comes to startups, because it seems like they throw out culture at the window and then everybody's expected to just walk in chaos. We just have to put our eyes on the prize. How do you maintain having that startup culture and agility while trying to improve rapid growth structure and processes where necessary? Obafemi, please, I'll let you go first.
So I'll start with leadership consistency. So we need to understand as founders that, or co-founders, wherever you find yourself at that level, that at the startup phase, the DNA of the business takes its source from you. So, and that DNA defines the culture. At the startup phase, the culture is not different from the culture of the founders of the business. Now, how do you sustain that culture? You know, I'm sure you've heard when they say culture can hit your strategy for lunch. It's true. So, what kind of organization are you planning to run? So, let me tell you an unconventional way. And this is very practical. And I know it may not be sustainable, but for the kind of business that we run, one of our approach is open door policy. So I think most times when businesses begin to scale, the disconnect between junior executives and senior executives widens. Of course, there are middle-level managers who block they block the pressure or they channel the pressure in a way that they deem fit. One of the things that we do, and you know, when I joined Clan Africa, then it was Credit Clan back then. That was about in 2021 when I joined. One of the culture I met, the CEO and founder was expressing at that time, I keyed into it. You know what he would do every morning? We're much smaller then in size. When he comes to the office in the morning, you know, the way doctors do ward round, he goes to every office in the building. He does a handshake with everybody. Initially, it was a culture shock for me because I'm like, what's my business with whether you woke up well on the right side of the bed or not? How is that my business? But you know what? He also now maintained an open door policy where even the cleaner can walk into his office and talk. In fact, if he sees you on the corridor, he can drag you into his office and like, hey, how are you? Right? It was a culture shock for me, but I discovered that that is his DNA and that is how he wants the organization to function. So I aligned. Till today, when I get to the office, for people who are not working remotely, I make it a point of duty every morning. I mean, my colleagues, you can ask Clan Africa, they see me every morning, except I'm not in the office. I'll come to your office, I will joke, I will greet, I will handshake. So with that, we are able to instill a certain kind of culture, a culture of transparency, a culture of having a sense of belonging, that people don't see you as too far away. And there's something, whenever we do our general meetings, I tell them, I'm a DM away. In case you are escalating something and your line manager or middle manager is trivializing it or blocking it, I make a commitment to them. I will never throw you under the bus. I will never reveal who told me. Just escalate to me. I get lots of DMs and I'm like, okay, don't worry, I'll get on it. I'll call HR, I'll call product, I'll call this person. Hey, there's an issue here. Why are we not tackling it? Of course, they will say, how did you know? I say, that's my business. How are we solving this problem? So it's the culture you want to sustain in an organization that you project. You have to make it trickle down. And most times, middle managers are the problem. Unintentional consequences, just because they are trying to make the boss feel everything is working fine, while in their own wisdom, they are trying to handle stuff. But by the time it gets out of hand, the company would have lost time, resources, which could have been avoided if the escalation was spot on. So I do a lot of feedback and a lot of communication. I want to be in the loop so that we can take those decisions. And because it's a startup environment, right? Even though they've said we should stop calling ourselves startup, we've been long in this game, but we still consider us as very young. We believe in, that fluid environment where I can walk up to my MD on the corridor and we can take a decision on the spot. No bureaucracy. Because we are in an environment that requires fast response. So we can talk about it, we can drag the CTO, who is also a co-founder, on a corridor. We don't need to go to the conference room. On the corridor, and we are like, something is going on. We got this feedback from the market and all of that. What do we do? Then, because they are the technical guys, they drag in the developers and like, by this time tomorrow morning, this problem must have been solved. So the way you can do that is also to make your organization know that we are responsive. If you escalate, be rest assured that management is listening and they will do something about it. We don't listen and go to bed. We are on our toes. I know how many, sleepless nights we've slept in the office before, just to make sure that there's something that has to be met up with. So when your staff knows that, oh, my COO can sleep in the office, it sticks. That so if he's asking you to stay up late to fix a customer's issue, it is something that he would have done if he was in your shoes. So it's a culture, and that's how you keep it together. Don't be too distant from your junior executives, right? Sorry, I'm using junior executive. I don't like using the word your superior or your subordinates. I don't know. But so junior executives, like babies, they watch and they replicate what you are doing. So it's not about do what I say. You have to model it. And that's how you can keep that culture and DNA running in the organization for fast. So if new people join the organization, your evangelists are the people that have seen what you do. They'll be like, we don't operate like that here. You can't do that here. If we escalate this thing. So they are even the ones telling the new people that, boy, that's not how we do things here. You can walk up to the boss, you can go to his office, you can tell him whatever the problem is, and he will solve it. Nobody will victimize you, nobody will do anything. So I think that's just my thoughts about that. Thank you.
That was quite detailed and experiential. Hadiola, over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to get personal. And when I mean personal, I'm basically saying that I believe that any business you're putting out there is a reflection, is a direct reflection of who you are as a person. So who your culture is, because your day-to-day life, like how you wake, when you wake up, what you do, your routines and all of that, how you eat and all the details, they are actually that's operations basically. Like, so the way you live your life, the values that you have, the kind of person that you are, who your character is what reflects directly in your business, is what reflects directly as the culture of your business. And that directly impacts that directly impacts the kind of structure that you put in. And it also reflects on how you are able to how you are able to adapt to agility. Startup world, startup life, startup industry is agile, right? If you have the good character, if you have the good values, right, it will reflect the kind of structure that you have. And structure actually fosters agility. It's not the other way around. So what you have going on in your life, if you're a disorganized person, the structure that you have is a disorganized structure. I usually use this analogy to explain what operations is. Operations is like you are building, like you have a business idea. That means you want to build a skyscraper. Your business idea is to build a skyscraper. And your vision is to go high. You want to go high like the most high. Sorry. You need a solid foundation that is designed for a skyscraper, for that kind of height. But what happens in many startups is they lay a foundation for a bungalow. You are a bungalow, like what I said earlier, like you're a direct reflection of your startup. So you are a bungalow, your own operational life is a bungalow life, and then you want to build a skyscraper on top of it. It's going to collapse one day. So it applies to operations without the right foundation. If you have issues in your life, I'm sorry, I'm not a therapist, and I'm not sorry though. I'm not a therapist, but you need to you need to define your own clear processes in your life. Define your own clear processes. Are you an accountable person? What are the things that you need to make this dream, this idea, this structure, to build this foundational structure so that you can get to your skyscraper height? And if you don't also have, and it's fine if you don't also have those, what would I call it? You don't have those skills, you don't know how to do all of that. That's where I am. I'm doing free advert for myself. That's why you contact people like me, right? So also to answer your question, I have always advocated for building to scale really early, right? You are a direct reflection of what you're building, right? Or rather, your life is a direct reflection of what you're building. Always think about how you can build to scale. Should not be an afterthought. You should be honest with yourself. Ask yourself the right questions. Do I have the capability to do this? And like, be proactive. I know I've said proactive so many times. Be proactive. Personally, professionally, I have a 7-phase operational build framework that I use, and it helps you set the right foundation for the structure for whatever you want to build. It's basically saying that the foundation you lay, if you want to lay a bungalow foundation, is also fine too. You want to lay a bungalow foundation, you want to build a bungalow, it's fine. Not everybody will build skyscrapers, but you should make sure that the culture and the who you are is solid, so that when you are translating that to your startup, you have a solid structure that you can go as high as you want.
There are two things I'm coming back to steal from you, Adiola. Probably on the main group, we will actively raise a placard. You would give us that 10 framework, a 10-step framework, and now these 7 steps. I'll be back to that. It's been a very interesting journey so far. If you're on this call and you have questions, start preparing. We're almost getting to that point. I know we've said a lot. We've said a lot about being proactive, about putting the right structure, opening up your door to make sure everybody can walk in when there's a problem. And I like the fact that Obafemi mentioned confidentiality, because I, for one, don't want to walk into your room and say, this is wrong. And I hear my name at board meeting on Monday, say, Jumoke said, this is wrong in the organization. I won't come back to you. That's also very important. Which then brings me to a very, very sensitive conversation. I want you to share with us, what's the hardest mistake you have made so far in this journey that you wish you knew earlier? Maybe just someone on this call might also be at that point where they're about to make that mistake, or they've made it and they are looking for ways to come out of it. So please share with us, what's your hardest mistake, your hardest truth in this 18 years and 20 years journey?
There are lots. There are lots. So I don't even know which one is hardest. But I think when you scale too quickly, and I mean, this has to do with money now. So
Okay.
the hardest one is the one that touches money, right? And I think it can also be it can be tied to doing something too quickly. Even though I have a stinkler for building structure before you even start. I mean, like if you want to build a skyscraper, depending on the number of stories you want to go, it will form or it will inform how many levels of foundation you need to put in the ground before you go up, right? So one of those hardest decisions was to release a product. I think this is not my current gig. It was like a former gig. that you release a product into the market, then you discover that you were too early to the market, or the market was not ready for what you are releasing. Because most times we think we know what the customer wants. We think for the customer without getting real validation from the market, which is why I like this guy's book, Eric Ries, The Lean Startup. Is also another book I'm recommending. Go and read it. So the Lean Startup principle helps you to understand that build your minimum viable product. Don't finish the whole product. And this also, has something to do with operations. Starting a banking or finance business, which is where I'm familiar with, you can start on Excel, but of course, you shouldn't remain on Excel. You can keep your customer data information, all of that, at the start out on Excel, where you can say, oh, this guy took 1 million from me. He has 6 months to pay. So as he's paying, as you are tracking the payments in your bank account, you are filling your Excel. Okay, this guy has done 2 payments, 3 payments. It is good at a level. But the structure you want to put in place, even though the tool you are using is a startup tool, but the structure you want to put in place is a structure of running a bank. So you need to be able to, like they say, start small, but think big, because you are growing big. So one of the hardest mistakes is to jump into the market with huge resources, huge tools that you are even underutilizing. You have spent money. At the end of the day, you realize that the money is a waste. Not like it's a waste, but at the stage at which your company is, or at the stage at which your product or your market is, that resources could have waited. That investment could have been minimal. So at every point in time, try to understand your market, build your minimum viable products, build your minimum, operational, framework that you can. If you can start with just one, I think things are even a lot better now with agentic AI. There are a lot of automations you can do at the start out right now. You just need to do a lot of research and get the right tools that you can use at the start. Things are a lot better now. I built a product yesterday using Coin, right? And if I was to launch that product, I'll probably not need a customer service rep from the onset, because my processes are defined, my requirements, everything I've got. So what I'm trying to say is this: have a minimum operable framework, something that supports where you are at the moment. If it's a product you are building, have a minimum viable product that supports where you are as a business, early stage, or your market is just 10 people. Use the structure that supports those 10 people efficiently. Don't go and bring a complicated product or structure that people only need 1% of the features you have put in place. Meanwhile, you have burnt money, you have brought in maybe like 10 developers, you have spent like 6 million trying to build that solution. Meanwhile, what your current prospect market needs is just 1/10 that maybe one developer could have done for you, and you could have gone to market quickly, get feedback, which we call validated learning, come back, implement those feedback, and then jump back into the market. So those are the things that I feel were one of the greatest mistakes that I have made, or that we have made, and we have learned from, and that we are better off today because we now know how to grow steadily as things require that skill. It's your environment that will require the skill, but you must always have that at the back of your mind at the start out that this is how big you are growing. I think Adiola covered it in our conversation. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Um,
much. Over to you, Adela.
all right, sorry. Okay. So I have had so many lessons. I don't even know where I should start from, but let me just say one big lesson that really stands out to me, in fact, I'm still recovering from it, is that don't rescue people from growth. Do not. Maybe because I like to solve. I always say it anywhere I go. I love problems. And I love problems because I love solving problems. I believe that without a problem, you cannot have a solution. So you have to have a problem for you to have a solution. So I love chaos. Like I love problems, basically. So because of that, I used to jump in. I used to jump in quickly to solve things for my team members. I thought I was helping, I was shielding them and all. But then I realized that I was actually slowing down their growth. And apart from slowing down their growth, they will still come back to blame me for, trying to shield them and all of that. The fact about life is growth often comes with with discomfort. Like it's life. That's how life is. That's how life is. So now instead of jumping in, I ask questions. I will ask you questions like, what do you think we should do? So those questions that I ask help people to think. They think more deeply, they take ownership, and then they learn to lead and solve their own problems by themselves. And nobody blames me for trying to jump in to solve their problems, right? Then I also learned to always communicate why. In fact, over communicate why. Because I don't know how human beings are made up, but it feels like if you've said your why, like if you've communicated your why initially, before you know it, everybody's already deviating from that why, like for no reason. So you must always over communicate why. Like as a as a founder, as a CEO, as an executive, you must always communicate why. And you need to be patient with people too, for them to understand that why. Especially when you're scaling, because things are moving so fast. People can start to feel like they're just executing tasks and they don't understand the bigger picture. Always communicate why. Even if you understand that these people understand why, still communicate it. Let them get so bored of you. There are some parents, or rather, there are some things that maybe our parents have said to us countless times, and maybe there are some stories. I have my own share of that. My mom has told me a particular story like 20 billion times, and probably that's the why. Let me just use that as a why. And she tells me that story. As she's telling me that story, honestly speaking, I am also repeating what she's saying. Rather, I am also saying what she's saying along with her. You need to keep repeating your why. You need to keep it should be ingrained in their psyche, it should be ingrained in their minds, and you should be patient with them. Please be patient with them, because disconnect can slow down their alignment, and it can slow down their morale actually. I remember one time, this is talking about the first point that I raised. I remember one time where I overloaded myself. I was trying to protect everyone from the chaos of a fast-moving startup. I took on so much. My God, it was like the worst period, one of the lowest periods in my life, and I was burnt out, and no one grew from it. That was even what pained me the most. Like no one grew from it. The blaming is okay, but you see the fact that nobody grew from it, it hurts me more. So I see my job differently. My role is to build the system and then build the people. My role is not just to carry the weight. So that shift, right, has changed everything for me as a leader.
Wow, wow. It's been a very interesting long session. Like I hear you say a whole lot of things, and thank you for sharing honestly. This is where it gets really interesting. I'm going to give 2 to 3 people on the call the opportunity to ask questions. 2 to 3 people. So please use the raise hand button or probably drop your question in the chat. 2 to 3 people. But while we wait for those 2 to 3 people, I see James' hand already. So yes, 2 to 3 people. I want you to say in 2 sentences quickly. We have startup builders and founders on the call who are saying, okay, I still want to pick on thing, what would be the best advice you'd be leaving a startup founder that is on this call in 2 sentences? What's that two key thing you'd be leaving a founder on this call with as your best advice for them when it comes to operations?
Okay. Gidela, go first. Because my own
Okay,
is
so
is a chastisement, so you go first.
okay, so start with clarity. Be crystal clear on your mission, your values, and what are non-negotiables for you. Always refer to that my analogy of building a skyscraper. If you are building a skyscraper, you can't lay the foundation meant for a bungalow. Let me just skip it there.
Thank you. That was quite straight to the point.
All right.
Over to you.
So, dear startup founder. So, dear startup founder, you cannot be a strategist and an operator at the same time. There are few people in this world who can marry the two together. You cannot be thinking strategic on how to develop products, new markets, how to get market share, be strategic, and be soiled with operational issues. You will get distracted. And this happens, and this is why we have a whole lot of burnouts that leads to failure of the startup. It's not like these startups are not profitable. I understand the part where at the startup phase, you are the accountant, you are, you are the product developer, you are everything. I get that. But when you are not going to leave that operations thing to people who can help you with it, so that you can focus, because I was still having this conversation with a fashion designer yesterday. Fantastic skill sets. But this person has been the same for the past 10 years. And I bothered to ask, what is the problem? And I saw that she's the one that goes to deliver clothing. She's the one that goes to take measurements. She's the one that sits down to sew for 6 hours. She's the one that's posting on Instagram. She's the one engaging. And I said, Madam, you have to choose a battle. You have to streamline what you want to do. And then what you want to do is what is going to bring the business that will pay for every other person that will take care of your customer service, do follow-ups on your customers, after sales service, post on Instagram, do the engagement. That if you focus on, because the challenge is, if I don't do all those things, how will I make more money? And I said, more money is in top level strategy, because you are bothered about expanding your market share. Who am I talking to? Who are the people that when you are finished all that, you dump the details on the operator and say, reach out to these 20 people. I met them at an event yesterday. I've already spoken to them, that will send them our designs. So you close it. And I think we need to, speak to founders. It pains me when they say, oh, startups don't last the first 5 years. It's not because there is a jinx. There's no jinx. It's because startup founders refuse to evolve. At some point in your business, when you have steadied your structure, you need to leave the operations part to people that can help you build the system and operate it, right? You can't be, they say jack of all trades, master of none is better than whatever. But see, let me tell you something. I've been on both sides before. It is quite distracting trying to do firecracking every day and from trying to be strategic. They require different mindsets. and different worldview. So you need to choose a battle. And this is where I also want to appeal to you. And because most times it's because we don't want to share. See, if you have 100% of 100,000 business, you only have 100,000 business. But if you have 50% of a business that is valued 500 million, you have 250 million. Learn to open up, bring more people into your business at a very minimal threshold that will not affect your control. But if you don't open up, I mean, somebody once said that the reason why America is great today as a country is because they opened up to talents from all around the world to help build their economy, even though in the past they leveraged on slave trade. But it's still the fact that they brought talent from Africa. You are not the alpha and the omega in your business. You can't do it alone. You have your strengths. You can evolve products, you can ideate, you can visualize, you can do all those things. There are people that are gifted that when you tell them the vision, they are able to democratize it, create a structure and a system around it. That is a gift in itself. So when I see startup founders make operations people look like they are zombies, that it's their one waste. Do you know within operations, there is innovation? Innovation is not just about products. There is operational innovation that while you are trying to do those structured things, you can also evolve new initiatives on how to do it better and more efficiently. But you can't be trying to network. Maybe make I speak pidgin. You can't be trying to network at the same time. Make you they chase customer feedback. It is distracting. You won't scale properly. And when you scale, you can't sustain it. And then everything comes crashing back to ground zero. That's not what you want. That will be my last line. Thank you. I'm sorry if
Thank you very much.
I've ruffled your feathers.
So to the 5 people raising their hands, permit me to, don't worry, we'll take all of you, but it's then going to be a minute to each person's question. Our time is fast spent.
Jimmy, can I quickly say something, Jimmy?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I am outside the house, just chilling here, and I just want to say this session is sweet. I mean, this session is sweet. I learned so much. I mean, thank you so much, Obafemi. Thank you, Adeola. This is amazing. I am really excited about that, and I'm happy that we recorded. This is recorded, so it gets into our repository of knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Okay, thank you so much, Eitaya, for that. Thank you. Okay, so quickly, yes, we'll take the 5 of you. Yeah, let's pick it first from James. I saw his hand first. So 1 minute per person. Hi, James. Hi, James. Can you hear me? Okay, while we wait for James, Emmanuel, you can go ahead. So let me just ask you to unmute. Hi, Emmanuel.
So
Yes.
just to confirm, I believe you can all hear me clearly, right?
Yes, I can.
All right. So first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Obafemi and Adeola for the fantastic session. So I believe as you guys were just speaking, it was like as if you guys were in my mind. You understand? So I could feel it's like you guys are feeling my pain points. But then I have 2 questions basically. The first one is for Obafemi, right? So you mentioned something around when startups are scaling, it requires the right people and a different kind of personnel, basically. And for us, right, one of the major issues we do face is in terms of finding the right people who will drive things forward. So basically, I know when you were speaking, you didn't even cover work-life balance, because anybody who like work-life balance on this call will be like, Obafemi, do you sleep? But I think it's very essential, because in the space in which we operate, so many things do change. And we need people who are very proactive and they can respond to things like that. And I would just like to know, because this session did not really cover anything on recruitment, right? So for us, we've brought in people they've designed their CVs like as if they've worked in the largest organizations on earth. And we've brought them in, and still there's not been able to even catch up with the pace of the startup environment that we operate in. So I would like to know, when it comes to recruitment, what are the kind of traits one should be looking out for, right? What should we be looking out for that kind of capture this, capture the right kind of personnel that will fit into the context of a startup? So that is the first question. Then the second question is for Adiola. So I know you mentioned you were big on this RACI, if I get you, is it RACI initiative or RACI chat? For me, because, we, as an organization, as usual, we do set objectives monthly with our work plans. But I would just like to know, because given the rapid change of things and how one can basically shift from their monthly objectives, and then when you're reporting at the end of the month, you have other things that you've done, given the dynamic nature and also sporadic nature of how things just come up and tasks are being assigned. How can we capture all of these in people's performance, and so we can track that effectively? So those are the two questions. And then my the third one would be, how can we get both your numbers? Because it seems we might have to take this conversation outside. But if there's something that's possible, that would be fantastic. Over.
Okay. Okay, let me go first. See, there is no solution. When people sit in front of you at interview sessions, except you're a mind reader, there are some things you can't detect. But however, like I mentioned earlier, yes, you will make recruitment errors. And there's something we call PURE, previously unidentified recruitment error. That happens every time. There's always no perfect, employee. But like I said earlier on, and like Diola also mentioned, you have to test for that character. And unfortunately, you can't test somebody that is on the outside. They have to be in the field, getting their hands dirty. So depending on where your organization is, if you are the startup phase, you are not scaled, you are just at the teaching stage, yeah, you can look for generalists. I'll tell you that there's a particular gig that I did years back, I think about 6-7 years ago. All our employees, like junior executives, were all NYSC. They were doing NYSC, like coppers. I'm telling you. And we saw them grow from the technology guy who said he has been coding since university. He was just a fresh graduate. Our accountant at the time she works with IHS Towers now. She was, a core member at that time. Our admin, because we were just starting out, so we needed generalists. We needed people who just had the mind to work, and because they were NYSC people, they are not going to run anywhere. They have 12 months statutory. They are going to give us their 12 months statutorily. They can't run away. Do you understand? So we used that strategy, and we saw them evolve. Sheyi, what's the other girl's name? Marvel, we saw them evolve that by the time they were completing their NYSC, each one of them could practically do what the other person was doing. They were young, they were malleable, they could be trained. And because they had the heart, they quickly learned. But at the time we were scaling to become like building a digital bank, it was either we trained them, they didn't have the experience, or we brought people from outside. But we had to bring people from outside because they didn't have the requisite experience we needed. And in doing that also, of course, there were pure people like recruitment errors. And one of the things you need to do quickly, as an operations person trying to scale is don't give too much room for, when people say 12 months, 6 months probation, I don't do it. You only have 60 days to prove yourself. In 60 days, if you are an experienced hire, in 60 days, you should deliver. By the end of the first month, we are still chilled. By the second month, you have to sit with me in my office. Then I have to ask you that where you are coming from, what exactly were you doing? You told us this at the interview. Because we expect you that as an experienced hire, you have certain level of experience that when we hire you, you should be able to hit the ground running. There is no room for acclimatizing. Of course, you have to acclimatize. But if you are using more than 60 days to acclimatize, there's a problem. You can't deliver, even if we gave you 6 months. So as a founder, you will always have that problem of recruitment. But again, you must be willing to make some investments. There are people who have the heart, but they are not so skilled. Like I said earlier on, find a way to develop their skills. Find a way to, they might stay longer hours after everybody has gone. Try to pour yourself into them, which a lot of us don't want to do at this time. We just want people that can just do the job, and once they are not doing it, we are firing them. But if you have people who have the good heart, take your time to train them, right? Send them on courses, buy programs for them so that they can become better for it because they have a good heart. They want to do good, right? So I think that's how I will put it. So you can't detect that from the interview table, but don't let it linger too long. That somebody is now telling you that, Shebi, I have 6 months probation. Until after my probation, that is when you should be having problems with me. No, me, I'll have problems with you by the 60th day. I'm sorry, I can be that. There's no time. So that's where I will stop at that point, and I'll let Diola answer.
Okay, so I think because of our time, what we'll do is this. For the 4 people I have with their hands raised up, you have 30 seconds to state your question, and we have another 30 seconds to answer to. Diola, I know you have to go, but 4 more minutes. 4 more minutes. So we'll do it 1 minute round and 4 more minutes. Thank you. Okay, Fona, you can go next. So you have 30 seconds to state your question.
Oh, okay.
We can take the other conversations to the lounge.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much to the speakers and the host and co-host. So I'll go quickly. So in the past, all of this discussion made me travel down to while working for startups. I used to have this issue of I did not like managing people. So most of the time, because I was supposedly skillful then, they would want to attach people under me. But that was the problem. I think the biggest problem I had was managing people. So immediately it forced me to actually put in my resignation. And then when I was applying, I started applying for junior roles. Then fast forward to 2023, I co-founded my own startups. But then down to that lane, I actually could not pinpoint where I actually now decide to start working with people. Like if you put someone under me and you say I'm managing this person, I'll be like, oh, okay. I do not exactly know how. So now I'm not asking this question now. Let's forget about me. Let's say if I happen to have someone like myself again working for me, how do I actually tackle that? Since Deola mentioned you can attach someone to them so they can grow along with that person. Then when I was working, if you attach someone to me, I work more effectively working alone. So if you attach someone to me, that person might likely stall or would likely not learn anything or would just be feel too much pressure. So how will I actually tackle that kind of a person if I eventually encounter that kind of person working for me? Thank you.
Okay, I think
Yeah, you can. Okay, I think she's off the call.
Okay, personally, I believe you learn better when you train other people. Personal philosophy, right? You learn better, and also when you are preparing to become a leader, then you need to get comfortable, albeit inconvenient. You need to get comfortable with building other people, because you must understand that you can travel far as a person, but you will travel further with people. And when I mean people now, people that understands where you are going and they're able to come around you to push the vision forward. So it's something, and I personally, I believe entrepreneurship is a science, is a discipline that people need to learn. And one of the learnings you need to do for yourself is to unlearn your belief system to accommodating other people, to train them, to work with them. If they put somebody under you as a leader, how well the person turns out is what validates your leadership. I tell people, if your junior executive is failing under you, then you are not doing well. That was I tell my guys. Your junior executive is your litmus test of your own quality. If people under you are failing and you want to have an A+ in your appraisal, no. And even if you look at our HR appraisal systems, it is a summation of every other person reporting to you that forms your own appraisal. So you need to derive your star, right, from them. So which means you have to also be committed to their development and their performance. So you need to get comfortable with that idea. If it's not already there, you have to be comfortable with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Obafemi. So Festus will take in next. So Adiola had to join another meeting. She dropped her number though, so I'll be dropping her number in the chat in case you have any questions. So yes, I just dropped Adiola's number. So in case you have any question, please reach out to her. She said she's happy to take any question. So we'll spend the next 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 30 seconds for you to ask your question, and then another 30 seconds for you to take the question. Our time is fast spent. Festus, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jumke. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so mine is more of like a personal vendetta to what Mr. Obafemi was saying. I believe the goal of operation is to ensure seamless and efficiency, right, of service across stakeholders, both the internal team and the external one. By internal, I'm referring to the staffs. By external, I'm also referring to the customers. So it should not one-sided, where all the customers are always getting the best result of it. So it should be on the both end. And as a startup founder, I run a company called BFG Consult. So we are currently in our 8th year and scaling at over 15 staff right now. One thing I understand building the company from scratch was that each year have different experiences. I mean, at the point where you have 1 staff, 2 staff, 3 staff, you have different experiences of issues across ranges. Sometime in 2024, I came to the UK, and then there was this particular young man I built from scratch, Moses. He was my software developer. And he worked with me for 2 years before coming to the UK for my studies. And then when I was moving, I had to make him the project manager. And then that was it. So he really built the company with me because he understood the whole leadership qualities I was putting in place. And eventually, we had to scale more team members, bring in more product developers. And he did it so well to the point that everybody was getting the best out of it. So sometime last year, he had to relocate to Lagos, and I was left with two options: either to go back to managing the team directly and bring in a new leader that can become a new PM, or I bring in someone from the outside. So because I knew for real that I don't have the time, like what Mr. Bafemi said, to run the two together. I'm building strategy, then also in the fire of works. So I needed to let me bring someone from the outside to come and take up this role. We got in a guy, and the guy came in. We gave him a 3 month what's it called probation period, 90 days, and that was the worst mistake I've ever made at that very moment, because sometimes it's almost like these guys are like bozos. They'll just come and make it look like, oh, they can do all of these things, and they almost ruined the business because the tension was so high. Delivery was zero. It was toxic, left and right. The frontline managers or the frontline executive, these are the people Mr. Femi called junior executive, were the one that saved my business. How did they save the business? They had to begin to tell me some of the updates, because I have an open system. You can come to me and tell me the issues you're facing. They begin to let me know, okay, boss, to be honest with you, if we go this way, I'm not sure you have business in the next 6 months, because the way this guy is doing us, nobody's happy to deliver on that tax. I have teams who are willing to go hard, crazily to get work done. But at this point, I realized that it begin to be so lean and so, excuses left and right. After the point where I noticed all of these things, all I just had to do was, okay, Peter, what's the issue? What exactly is going on? He explained everything to me. He said, your people are spoiled brats and all of that. Wow. So I wasn't sure of where the problem is coming from. I want to be as professional as I can to listen to both parties. So on the third month, which was on the 61, 62 to 90 days, I had to get myself involved with the team to know exactly what the issue is. And then I discovered the issue myself, that he was the problem causing all of this havoc in the team, and I fired him. So the mistake I made would be that I spent, a whole 90 days for me to discover that problem, which of course I would have at the early point of the first 1 month, I already saw signals that there's something wrong regarding my operations of delivering service to our clients. But then I had this point of, let me give you a benefit of doubt. Maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'm the one. So hiring fast and firing fast is a very good strategy. Validating to what Mr. Femi have said. And the one thing that really saved my business was I was so lucky enough that I have this lady called Lizzie, who served as an executive assistant with Moses. He was directly working with Moses for like 6 months before Moses relocated to Lagos. This was a lady I had to go back to say, hey, I think you need to come and take up this role, because at this point in time, I'm not bringing anybody from the outside to come and take up this position. And guess what? Ever since I did that, everything became normal again. So my whole take home would be that when we are working with a big business, starts with the frontliners, because these are the guys who are really at the point of of delivery. The middle managers are mostly managing the process and operations and all of those things. So they don't really have much they do most times, except they just give reports and all of those things. But basically, the frontliners are the heart of the business as far as operation is concerned. If you can hold them well, the business will perform better. That's my whole take. Thank you.
Fantastic. And that's why you shouldn't be too far from the frontliners. I already said that. Bridge that gap with the frontliners, and because middle managers they can be your problem. Thank you.
Unfortunately, but maybe not unfortunately, fortunately, I want us to spark this conversation further on the group, which is why Julius and James, please, I need you to type your questions on the Velocity group. This conversation doesn't have to end here. So I want us to take it to the lounge so that every other person that also didn't attend this session can also get to benefit and learn something. Obafemi and Adeola on the group, they are happy to take your questions, respond to it. So thank you so much, Obafemi. This was quite a very insightful, intensive knowledge sharing session. And we can't wait to have more of this. We might most likely be bringing you back again to come share more. And thank you, Itaya, for having me. Thank you, everyone. Once again, at Velocity, the goal is simple: to build a community where people can be open, where people can ask real life questions, where people can gain value, can get knowledge. And if you are not on the group, please register to join it. I see someone saying link to the group. Sean, please, can you drop the link to join the Velocity group in the chat? It's been an amazing ride with you. Once again, my name is Olajumoke Awonori. I'm a sales and marketing professional. You can check me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Hi, Itaya, do you have anything to say before we move out? Thank you, Obafemi. It was nice to hear from you. Hi, Itaya. Are you still there? Do you have anything to say to us before we call it tonight?
Itaya is outside. He's lounging.
Please, can we get the link to the group, or can we get Mr. Obafemi's number?
Sean would tag Obafemi and Adeola on the group. I dropped Adeola's number earlier, and Sean just Itaya is here. Sean just dropped the link to join Velocity. So please register via that link to join Velocity, and also Adeola and Obafemi will be tagged on the Velocity Lounge as well. So please drop your question, James and Julius, on the lounge. Thank you so much, Itaya, for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.
You did a very good job, Jumoke. Obafemi, that was a very fantastic one. I mean, the knowledge that you guys shared today is just incredible. And I appreciate, what we're doing here. On a final note, as we are all leaving, I just want to remind you guys, the velocity, the mission is still the same thing. We want to continue to provide a platform for fast rising leaders to actually partner, collaborate, and close deals. So we're all about relationships. Stephen says, I am loaded by you guys. I love you all. We love you too, Stephen. Enjoy yourself. Have a beautiful night. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.